Welcome everyone. Today we have another new episodes, and I think many people from around Asia Pacific they already know and they ask me many questions about this Pacific Rim Business Councils and California Miramar University. And because of the huge popularities and the people demands, I invite again to our World Talent Economy Forum shows to from the Pacific Crime Business Councils. We have actually few of the guests. I think already everybody know about Dr. Ali Goyabadi. He is actually Chief Academic Officer for California Miramar University. We have Dr. Stan Fosters, and he is also Vice President of California Miramar University. We have our another guest, Mr. Mu. He is a marketing expert for Pacific Crime Business Council, and we have Mr. Eric. He is a CEO of Pacific Crime Business Council. So I want to start in that way, and we finish our sessions in last week, and we do discuss different strategic points of views and analysis, and especially Dr. Goyabadi come up with the different philosophical aspects of educations and developments, and many youth community, many young peoples from Asia Pacific, they ask me in one specific things because let's say Malaysia's, Indonesia, even Singapore's, Vietnam's, many countries actually they are now struggling with these job markets, the business opportunities, and especially economically they want to survive and major things how they can get involved with this vaccine and this kind of things. So we're going to discuss with many interesting point. Definitely we have our expert. So first I want to start with Dr. Ali Goyabadi. Sir, you come up with some of the strategic points of views for youth development, especially academic developments, and especially in COVID-19 periods. How your university actually support like the youth community for developing their academic things. Before that, I just want to add one statistics and data from the developing nations. I get a data today, and it's actually really I'm afraid and worried. The young people, those who are more than 18%, 18 years of olds, let's say 19 years old, 20 years olds. So these people, around 28% already they drop out from their mainstream education system. Already they cannot afford the regular and mainstream education system. They have to support their family, and you are from academic backgrounds, you have a vast experience, and you have your university and you support a lot of students around the world. So how you can, your university can solve and help this kind of youth to develop their knowledge, skills, and how they can continue their education? I think many government also now thinking about that because many people now drop out. It's a huge.
All right, thank you so much. And hello, everybody. I know it's fairly late in East Asia. It's around 8 o'clock in the morning here in San Diego. Now, this is an important issue. And I think it goes to the root of the problem. Uh, our economy is consumer based. What that means is that if people don't consume, this economy will come to halt and will not continue. And we can see the fact that for the reasons of mainly pandemic, people are not consuming as much. Maybe people are not wearing pants, let's say, if they are attending a Zoom meeting. Then we see those who sell pants are not selling as much, or because people are not driving around. But in reality, consumer market deals with perception of a consumer of the future, and the future is not that rosy anymore. And hence, rarely people are willing to invest their future into a future that is not yet determined. Now, so-called consumer confidence is low, And yes, you're right. It's not just people dropping out, and that's not necessarily only the Generation Z, but even other people at university level have opted to drop out, especially uh, university education that is very expensive. Now, we just noticed Harvard closed a few of their majors, and a lot of universities are feeling the pinch. And I just recently spoke to a top level manager at the top level university, and they said they had a 35% drop in their enrollment. So, yes, this is a real issue, meaning when you are not confident about the way economy is going. And again, socioeconomic factors today are all dependent on consumer confidence. Consumer confidence is very low. And there are really four areas one has to concentrate on. Large corporations, they're doing fine mainly because they were ready to do it anyways, and they are uh, mainly digital fabric, meaning like Amazon, like Alibaba, like Apple, like Google. And as a matter of fact, we see an increase in their activities. But that increase in activities, considering that consumption has really been cut to some 60 some percent, obviously is at the price of the other two areas of business, namely medium and small, losing. As a matter of fact, a fair amount of people are predicting, and these are major thinkers that saying that most likely some half of the small businesses will be going out of business uh, during the 2021. That's even given the fact that we might be able to come up with some sort of a solution to this pandemic, but the long lasting effect of this particular change in consumer confidence will most likely cost the livelihood of small businesses. Now, the people who are coming out of universities are looking at the job market. And when they look at the job market, either they go to micro, meaning that they're setting up their own businesses, or they want to move to businesses that are running, and they don't see a very positive outlook in there. And they find it difficult to continue their education and investment given the fact that we are in such a difficult situation. Another fact, and I will quickly finish this, is that universities traditionally were a place where you come together, the professor comes in, students come in, and so it's a social construct as much as it is a learning experience. And if you're not going to attend that big, beautiful college, if you're not going to mix and mingle, then why would you want to attend? So that's another issue, especially areas that are not that relevant to today's situation. So as a university, we have opted, and we started this even long before the pandemic started, and that was inexpensive, affordable education that is hands-on and applied. That means we want our graduates, as soon as they leave the university, as soon as they hit the ground, they're running. They don't need to be educated. A lot of large corporations do not like what they see as graduates. That's why we've listened to the corporates, we've listened to the new job market, and we are training our students to be actually hands on, to be able to take on their challenges. So we are very much concentrating on hands on education and applied education. And we do actually, as a matter of fact, we've changed our regiment from teaching into training. So our professors are more than a teacher, they are coaches that are coaching people to be able to deal with the stress of life. And keep in mind, we are actually, our target market are usually either international students or working individuals who need an education to be able to better their life. So to be honest, even though most universities, we are a small university, but most universities have seen a drop in their enrollment. Thankfully, we've been able to have an increase in our enrollment. So I will come back to this concept again, not taking so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ali Goabadi. I want to ask questions, Mr. Eric, because you are CEO of Pacific Rim Business Council. Uh,
Mhm.
at present situations in South Asia, Asia Pacific, we have our research team and we do discuss with different kind of corporations and business organizations because Asia Pacific is a manufacturing hub because of the capitalizations, because of the globalizations. Asia Pacific, let's say China, Indonesia, Malaysia, even Vietnam, even Bangladesh, many countries, this kind of countries actually manufacturing hub. But this is another things like for this COVID periods, actually supply chain model, what they are following uh, last last 10 years maybe, it's actually not working properly. So as you are handle Pacific Rim Business Council and you have lot of engagement with the business organizations in Asia and around the world, what your observation? What do you think? How your organization can fix the supply chain related things? Because now it's a billions and $1 billion actually last one quarters. Many countries they are losing in that point because of their supply chain management and this ecosystem already not working properly.
So, probably one of the things that makes us different is that we do a lot of research. So, our members all over the world are high people that are highly connected, know a lot of people, access to information. Also, we partner with the university, so we actually have students and professors actually working on a lot of the problems we have. So, in making decisions, that's a key point for us is to actually delve into really what's going on. And our network is what allows us to take sample points from all over the world. Um, some part of your answer to your question is with the idea of finding the right partnerships. Like you said, supply chain isn't one piece; it's a whole bunch of pieces stacked efficiently. So the two things that are driving that is finding the right sustainable and resilient partners, and the other part is using technology to track what's going on so that you get better forecasting of what's coming down the line, what people need. You get more the right people coming together at the right time. But in this world, there's kind of three things that we've been working with our members on during this COVID, and they're things that you should be doing all the time, not just COVID. And the first one is this idea of what is it that you are doing right now that we should be doing differently? And that takes all kinds of form. For example, we're working with one company that always charged price up front. If you wanted the work, you charge up front. And because people are hesitating and waiting, one thing they've done is they charge their cost, not their profit. They charge their costs up front because they know what they do works. And they look at the data and it figures out it takes about 3 months for them really to feel it. So they have the rest of the payment done in 3 months. So that's part of the idea is look at the whole supply chain and manufacturing and say, is there something that we could do differently based on it could be terms, it could be delivery, it could be inventory. So there's driving change. The second piece of that is what new should we be doing? So we've actually been busier during the shelter in place. And a lot of that have been starting new companies because there's new demands. One demand right now is how do you hire good people, keep them with the company, keep them resilient so if things change, your employees actually help you change and they're loyal and they stay with you. So this reliant, sustainable and resilient workforce is just one area of looking at what can we do new. And the other part of what we've been working with people in the supply chain is get it ready because maybe it's not ready for the consumers to act. And what I mean by that is maybe now's the time to develop relationships so that when things come back, you are first in line and ready to go. And a lot of that is just reaching out to customers. This is a great time to find out what customers want, what your suppliers want, what your vendors want. So getting those relationships rock solid right now, but providing useful information to everybody, being a source, saying we understand you're going through tough times. How can we help? So I guess in summary, um, being able to act on data is advantage. To have an organization like the Pacific Rim Business Council and have a research teams of doctoral students and professors has been highly helpful to us. What we've been doing with that research is help people change what they're doing slightly to make it valuable the way people are doing business now. And when this COVID ends, we're still going to be doing business differently, and the world is always going to change a lot due to technology. The second part is doing new things that people now need. And the third part is creating relationships. So when things come back to normal, you're ready to go when people are ready. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Mu, as you are expert of digital marketing, e-commerce, and this kind of things, even in Asia Pacific, Alibaba playing a very strong role with their contributions in digital marketings and the e-commerce and this industry. Let's say in Malaysia, Lazada playing very interesting roles, and Alibaba has a very strong investment in Malaysia. Even it's more than $1 billion. So my question is that even still, Asia Pacific different governments, not only in Malaysia, they are more focused now on this digital marketing and this kind of things. How do you want to analyze these digital marketing things, and what the possible things we can do for the digital marketing, e-commerce, and this kind of things with this specific small medium enterprise?
There are several. When we say small and medium enterprises, there are. We need to look at from a couple different perspectives, and they have. They are not created all equal, right? When you say a small medium sized enterprise, normally the definition is small is under 50 employee or 55 employee. And medium can go as high as maybe 200 employees. So just by looking at how many employees the company or the operation has, that's not enough to determine whether this company is doing their online stuff, is doing their digital marketing stuff. So a better way to divide the company, to divide the companies that we work with from a online digital marketing point of view is that how much emphasis are this company actually putting on digital marketing. There are huge firms that are spending less budget, or at least not spending as smart budget as some of the small businesses. Right. So nowadays there are restaurants that's basically 100% operating online. All their traffic is coming from the internet, and comparing to a small restaurant like that, you also have some other companies that just almost Chuck E. Cheese. They went out of business, and that's a national trend in the U.S. And they just didn't figure out how to do the online thing correctly in time. But we also see some good promises, like McDonald's actually increased their revenue this year, and KFC finally figured out how to do the online thing in the US. But KFC has a very long tradition of doing the online thing, of doing I keep calling it an online thing, but it's really the digital marketing method. They have a long history of doing that in Asia. At least from my home country, I know that 2 a.m, you're hungry, you want some food. The first thing come to mind is probably KFC. You just pick up your phone, call them, they will send it to you. And now they still do it all online. So, like I said, the way we look at business from the get-go is whether is it a business that's have their roots in the online or do not. Right. This has always been a problem even without COVID, and COVID just actually the whole process of forcing companies to shift to an online space. And Dr. Guabadi put it the best, right? About half of the small business will die. Half of the business will die. And I looked up a number, but even without COVID, 45% of small business die during their first year. And if we're really talking about small business here, the benefit of opening a small business is that you're not afraid of it being dying, right? If you decide to open your own business, you don't expect it to be 100% success chance. And even when small business die, we find, where does the small business owner go? They open another small business. That hopefully that's the case. And there are a lot of lifetime entrepreneurs, and it may take you dozens or even multi dozens times to try, and eventually you succeed. One success business venture eventually will just overcome all that failure before. You talk about Alibaba, Jack Ma, he's the founder of Alibaba. Before he come up with this Alibaba idea, he has many failed business ventures. He just keeps trying, and eventually he find his niche. He find this online thing, but online thing may not be the finish line here. With COVID, who knows what's the next, right? With online, yes, it's the infrastructure, but maybe an online marketplace is not even the right thing at this point. Maybe deliver from China directly, drop shipping, that's a thing of the past, maybe, right? Because like you said, the supply chain has been disrupted, right? And there's also a political reason, right? The region is no longer fully protected or fully controlled by the U.S. Navy. China is coming up, and there are things, unsettling things happening in Taiwan. U.S. is pushing weapon, both sides are puffing their chest. So those kind of factors one needs to consider when they open small business. If you decide to dropship your business, and yes, in the past, lean manufacturing and the lean supply chain has been the talk of the day. We want to do just-in-time inventory, so we save all that money. We can invest it somewhere else. But when COVID hits, all of a sudden you suffer a supply chain shortage, and all of a sudden you're out of business. And increase very resilient. This is beyond online marketing. This is coming back to what keep you in business. Maybe carrying inventory is not bad. Is not a bad idea. And this also goes back to the specific companies, right? Maybe if you're a restaurant, you don't want to carry that much inventory because they all go bad, and they have short shelf life. But this is where an organization like PRBC comes in. We're basically the consulting company for small business, right? Where the McKinsey's or Boston consulting firms, those companies are. They work for the Fortune 500. They only have a handful of clients, but we have hundreds of thousands of clients, but they are all much smaller than their counterpart. And so if you are really confused about your specific needs during COVID as a small business, that's where we specialize in. And so the one line answer for lack of better term is, it really depends. It depends on what kind of business you are in, depends on what stuff you're selling, depends on how do you fulfill your order. It's all different, and each case deserves very hands-on analysis. And once you have the analysis, you will have a set of action plan to actually make sure, first of all, your business is resilient to stay around, and secondly, make it even without COVID, make it more efficient. And after all, an ad online is, from money perspective, is more efficient than a traditional ad where you put in your local newspaper or billboard. That's just the fact, because the way you can track online traffic is totally different, and where our money is going. And I'll save some for later. And that's it for now.
Thank you. Dr. Stan Foster's, my question is that at present situations, more than hundreds of millions of people losing their job in COVID period, not only Asia, around the world. On the other hand, even the employers and the owners of the big organizations, they are introducing AI, robots, technology, and there is a big chance that many people will be unemployed soon.
Mm.
So in that situations, actually, let's say your university, you do engage with executive educations and this kind of things. How your universities can help the employees to like develop their skills and the knowledge in that particular field of AI and technology, these kind of things, and they can survive in their business place, they can survive in their jobs, or they can get new opportunity.
Well, that's a loaded question. It reminds me of how long is a piece of string. I mean, it really depends on the various situations. Now, what we've found is that and Dr. Guyabadi and the way he's taken our academics in California Miramar University has been with the realization that in 5 to 10 years, AI is going to be the dominant force, and many people will not have jobs because of it. So one of the things is, well, let's just put it this way: they won't have the same types of jobs. And then, so now, where do you find the other resources, and where are the other job opportunities coming from? That's a really good question. I do think that you're going to, it's the same thing that we were talking about earlier, where every time there's a threat, there's an opportunity. So now you have to be start looking to some innovation if that's going to take place as AI starts taking place and taking over in these various industries. And AI is not going to take over in each industry the same way. So there's going to be different opportunities, and it's going to take those out of the box thinkers that come in and look at those types of opportunities and come up with something that will fill the niche, some new niche is going to be created there. I am not smart enough to know what those niches are, but they would definitely are going to be coming. And one of the things that we've tried to do, the way that we do a practical education, is that we actually have our students go out, particularly our doctoral students, and rather than trying to write a dissertation and hope somebody out there likes it, we try to tailor it and work with a company that has a problem to solve, and putting in our doctoral student with that company, and then they do solve that problem as part of their dissertation. It's a very strong but very practical application, and I do think that we're going to have to get more, in a weird way, more practical in how we find new opportunities.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, Dr. Ali, you are a very good strategics and policymakers, as well as you have engagement with different technology fields. How, like example, your organizations actually can solve this kind of things? This is actually local demand as well, like even youth community, even those who are not even youth, there are also things that how they can adjust with the new technology and other things, and how they can survive in this job market. Yeah.
I mean, well, trying to address what you just pointed out, someone says, all business is not dying. Some new business are starting their operation during this pandemic. So, do you agree with this statement? And I see also some other people do not like the pessimistic approach that might have appeared in my initial assessment. And the fact that we do this so-called strategic analysis, rule one is you make sure you know when and where you are, when and where. We are today, we're not yesterday, and we're not tomorrow. Yes, what we plan today, meaning the set of action plans that will hopefully get us a successful, attainable, and sustainable tomorrow, are what we are planning to understand. That's why we participate and partake in these sort of discussions. However, keep in mind, and that's very important, uh, today there are certain mega players, like in 2020 alone, Google just had every day 7 billion searches, right? That's like 2.5 trillion searches per year worldwide. We're talking about Amazon having 150 million, yes, 150 million Prime subscribers. And we know that Facebook has 2.6 billion monthly active users, right? So that's like 1.7 billion users that visit this place, and Alibaba some 700 million. So what does that really mean? It means there are new players, dominant new players, de facto new players that are new. I mean, 2004, Facebook started, and guess what? Today, a third of all the times Americans spend online is done through Facebook, and still not integrating what they get from WhatsApp. So, what does that really mean? At the end of the day, it seems like businesses are streamlining. And when you want to be a business, because why businesses are business, let's say it's not philanthropic and it's not someone trying to show the world what they can do. They want to sell products or services, and they have to do it through these dominant channels. So in reality, today consuming is by representation. So what are those representers? These are Facebooks of the world, and the Amazons, and the WhatsApps, and the Instagrams, and the Pinterest. These are different Pinterest or the like. So in reality, yes, some will come into this picture, but it's a different world. As you do a scan of how business behaves today, it's not like it behaved 10, 15, 20 years ago. Today's business means, can you sell through Amazon? Can you sell through YouTube or through Google? I mean, today it seems like there is a layer between us as those who are entrepreneurial, are producing, are owners of micro or small businesses. How do we see this work? Not everyone has the acumen to be able to actively participate in this new business paradigm. Again, unfortunately, and I mean it, unfortunately, we are a consumer and consuming based uh, economy. That means we have to consume a lot of time, unnecessary consumption, which is destroying our world. What can we do? This is the system we work in, and it's the dominant way of managing our system. But in reality, what is happening is uh, the world is a lot different. I don't want to say complex. It's not really complex if you understand how the new world is. So we enable and empower our students who come from normal. I mean, we don't attract, and we're not even interested in the top players, right? They can go to Harvard, they can go to Stanford and MIT. The students we're dealing with are the everyday people who most likely are working individuals or international students who don't want to be tested on their English skill sets or do not come from prep schools. These are normal people who want to have a fresh look at the new world, which is changing much faster than our social construct allows individuals who are really busy here and there to catch up with. So, yes, what we are seeing as a way out is what Dr. Foster just referred to. We are looking at what would an individual who wants to take a leadership position either in their own life by having their own business or going into an organization and taking a leading position in an organization, what does this particular individual, independent of gender, race, or nationality, what does a particular person need to be able to go into a working environment and bring about the required change to stay alive? Now, this fact that, again, Mo also agreed with it, that most likely half of businesses will die. Don't forget, even in our body, cells die every 2 months. That means new cells are there. Death actually is an inevitable part of life. And as such, these small businesses dying, other businesses will come up. And yes, you only attain success and gain through pain and failures. There's no way for you to be successful as soon as you start on this journey. That's why we are trying to prepare our students, give them the understanding, know-how. We don't want people who can go and solve an original problem. I understand there might be some problems that have not yet been solved. We are training people who can look at a problem and understand where to find the solution. Solutions are already out there. We're teaching them how to become a solution finder rather than a problem solver, because if they're going to sit there for 6 months, a year, 2 years to solve a problem, it might be too late because the environment has changed. So we are training individuals to understand what type of solutions are out there and how best to find the right solution for where they are working, either for themselves as entrepreneurs and owners of a micro or small businesses, or as managers acting on behalf of some other owners. So people who are hiring our graduates are very happy because not we're teaching them humility, we're teaching them agility to be able to deal with the day-to-day challenges that are thrown their way through pandemics, political changes, and things like that.
Thank you, Dr. Ali, for your valuable recommendations on educations and the present conditions. I want to take one question from our audience. Mohammad Shohel Rana, his question is that how much will the potential of technological business increase after COVID-19 pandemic? Yes. I want to ask this question to our panels, Mr. Eric, then Mr. Mo, and Mr. Stan Fosters. You can share your views about this technological business. Beside that, I think finally Dr. Ali can come up with the idea and strategy. Yes.
Well, so I just spoke at Startup Week in San Diego, and there are lots of technology businesses that are booming. One example in a different location is my son works for a technology business, and his company has over doubled in size since COVID started. And it's interesting that half the people in the company have never met anybody else in person in the company. They've only seen them like this on the computer. So it's a new challenge. That technology is going to keep being powerful after COVID. And here's one advantage technology has. One of the biggest things that's impacting business is the wait and see. For example, now would not be a great time to be helping people with in-person event planning. Will that come back? Sure. But if you have an event planning business that you're proposing, it's not a lot of people are going to want to invest in that. Is there investment money out there? Yeah. My son's company just did another funding round, for example. So the money's out there, but people want to know a few things. Number one, is this a good idea, what you're planning? Number two, do you really understand the problem? Do you have a plan that we can believe in some way? Any kind of tests and anything you can do to make that plan lower risk by showing it works in some fashion? That includes something called prototyping, testing ideas. And the other thing is, do you have a team that we believe can carry out that plan? So let's take COVID. Might like the idea, the plan. They're going, well, maybe not now. So that's the biggest block. Technology businesses are much more agile at the moment to be able to handle that through technology. They can still say, we have a good idea. We can execute even if everybody's at home. So that's a big advantage. What happens after COVID? It's even better. That doesn't go away. But the other businesses have a chance of now playing better in that same game.
Mhm. Yes. Mr. Mu, what do you want to add about this technology business?
So I'm not clear on what's the question is being asked here. There are two type of company. You can call them technological company, right? You can have company that sells tech, and you can have company that operates on tech but selling traditional products. Right? So the first type, and they are very two type of definitions, because the first one, even when the company is selling a high-tech product, it could be operating on a very traditional platform. A company comes to mind, it's called Pantero Capital. They specialize in investment that's in virtual currencies. Your Bitcoins, your Litecoins, or all kinds of different coins. And but the way they invested is still they approach the traditional investors, and traditional investors wanted to be want their investment to come in the form of what they are used to, and that company operates on that. So that you can call it a tech firm because it deals with high tech products. In this case, it's a financial product, but in reality, it still operates on a traditional platform. And I don't know how traditional the finance sector can be, but maybe their floor is most other operations, most other business ceiling in terms of tech. But the mindset is that they don't want to touch with the new investment thing like Robinhood does. There's another, I think it's called Acorn. So they invest your money whenever you spend money. They invest a very small amount of money whenever you spend something on the internet. So that's one type of tech business. And those business, they better watch out. Because with the pandemic hitting, and they are used to deal with people almost on a face-to-face base, the pandemic will definitely hit them hard. But if we're talking about the other type of business, a company that runs on tech or a very high tech backed situation, for example, Uber, right? Uber is not really a tech centric product company, because what they do at the end of the day, they ship people, and people has been shipping people around for hundreds of years, if not thousands. Right? Another company that comes to mind is Workspace. What they do, they rent out offices, and even today they still have some presence. Right? They're in big trouble because their product, but from the tech point of view, it's still solid. You still can have some kind of membership. Because the way they envision it, including WeWork, WeWork and Workspace, those kind of tech rental space, they foresee this kind of stuff coming. They foresee a day where business wouldn't need a physical environment anymore. So what they did is, once you sign up with them, you're not really a tenant of them. You're a member of their network, and they capitalize on that. They capitalize on people being able to make friends with other like-minded small business, and they try to make themselves a social network. And I think neither of them actually succeeded in doing that, just because they didn't get enough time and didn't get enough funding. Talk about startups. Right? They're both unicorns, and they're both going out of business. So that's another side of tech. Right? So I think the same guy asking the same question, right? No, that's a separate question. So with tech going on, if your firm is like what Eric's son firm is, fortunately, and there's another tech firm, firm that's in traditional business. They are a roofing company that I'm recently being approached by. But right now, their employees, almost like Eric's son's firm, they doubled in their employees, but most of them haven't met them in face-to-face in real life yet. Just because of the pandemic, and their employee, they doubled their employee coverage. They, a roofing company, you wouldn't think they would recruit people in a different city, but they are doing that because they finally realized that, we have this technology all along. Zoom is not new. Zoom is not born during COVID, right? It's before COVID. So all the technologies we are using today, they already existed. They just didn't realize that they can do that, and COVID is just pushing them to realize that. And if you still are too stubborn to adapt, I'm sorry, you're out of business, and you might as well end up being, that 55% of the small business that fail. And that's not pessimistic. That's just a hard number. It's a very cold number. And even colder number is only 25% of all small business make it to the 15th year. And that's just US data. Maybe small business has a higher survival rate in Asia Pacific. I know in China they're more resilient, but it's even harder to start a small business in China. So to tie it up, it goes back to what tech means to a company. Right? If you use tech to build a resilience, you are good, especially during the COVID. But if not, you better start looking into how to do it.
I can add something real quickly to elaborate on Moo's excellent points there. One type of business is operations excellence. You get that supply chain and everything else working well. So you're either providing tools within that operations excellence, or you're using all those tools. And that's what Dr. Guyabati alluded to, is the tools are coming up so fast. How do you find which ones and how to put them together? So that's one aspect, is the operations excellence pipeline. The other one is the product development, new products. So you can create new tools to enable all these other people to do that, or you can write on somebody else's tools, like Amazon Web Services tools, or on a platform, a Slack tool, something like that. And the final is customer relations. Guess what? You can use that technology to find how build better relations with your customers. You can use those tools to help others find better relations with their customers. So that's a good point Moo made. Depends what you're doing, but that's pretty much it, is operations excellence, product excellence, or customer excellence.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Stan Fosters, what do you want to add? Can you please unmute yourself? Okay.
Yeah, in a very strange way, this the pandemic is more of a lethal business pandemic than it is a human pandemic. And nowhere in the world is you're looking at a fatality rate to any sector potentially 50 to 55% from this COVID. So our business is able to adapt rapidly enough. That and the technology companies like Ericsson's company, very innovative, very new, and it was a product that met at this very crucial time. So it was almost like riding a wave and surfing. You catch the right momentum, and it propels you forward at a speed that you could barely imagine at the best in a non-COVID type of a reality. I like to look at most of the businesses that go under are either people, they don't have forward-thinking people in their company, or they're in a business that is not quite as easy to modify and to catch up and get their new customer base. One of the things that nobody counted on is to have the kind of shutdown. These small businesses, if you would have asked on a SWOT analysis, which is threats and opportunities, nobody would have listed a threat that they could be shut down by their local business or their local government, not only their state government. The federal government in the United States has not been the culprit. It's been the state governments, the county governments, and the city governments. And this was a concept that was totally beyond most businesses, even their threat analysis. You would never have found that, I would say, in 1 out of 1,000. But that, in reality, is where we're at right now. So again, how fast can people adapt? One of the things I like to use is what we did with the university. Now we've, since our inception, we've had an element that's been online, and we're actually accredited by an online accrediting agency. But we always had both. We had programs that could be delivered in the classroom, and those that could be delivered 100% online. And even though we had the 100% online option, and we accept international students, and those students, we could deliver the education to them in their home country, 100% online, or they could come to the United States and study. I can tell you, it's more than 99% of the students wanted to come to the United States and study. They didn't even look at the option of staying in their home country and completing their education. Same education, same professors, because we have an on live type of delivery system where this would be called an on live situation. Professors are talking, the students are live in the classroom, even though they're not physically together. It's an on live experience. So all of a sudden, we had the tools within our tool basket, if you will, to be able to handle this pandemic in this manner. We also had to do some other things and mine that area to get new students from international students that were equally as happy to stay at home and get the education as they were to come here to the United States. So we were able to, circumvent that minefield, if you will, better than most companies. But I can tell you, there's a lot of schools that had never had one online class in their life, and they struggled mightily. They started at square one. What are the platforms out there? What are the accepted norms in distance education? How do you deliver the same kind of engagement that you get naturally in a classroom, right? When there's type of an engagement, and how do you do that online? Because not all of them even knew that there was a synchronous and an asynchronous. Most of the times, most online education was asynchronous. So students would just be out there. They'd kind of loosely interact with their faculty. Faculty might have recorded a lecture, but there's no real direct communication. And so going from that type of an environment to one that's really at the other end of the spectrum was a huge learning curve, paradigm shift, I would call it. That radical. So I think you're seeing that's just our business, but I think you can see that kind of same scenario work out in many of the businesses. Those that could easily adapt, or maybe were technology, an element of technology that could easily be adapted and make it work and garner that loss of customers in a different manner, which is the way we did it, is all of a sudden different than when there's no way to really quickly enough, because you can go out of business in a matter of months. And so if you had a year and a half to come up and strategize this, you could have possibly survived. But you can go out of business. The people right now are forced to have huge cost factors in having facilities in the United States, large facilities that are ghost towns. People can't come into them. They still have to pay that rent. Their landlords aren't saying, "Oh, don't worry about it," or if they're buying the building, the bank isn't saying, "Don't worry, you don't have to pay your mortgage payment." So again, you can go out of business in an eye blink. So again, this type of what business you were in and where they were positioned are all really very vital factors in dealing with this pandemic.
Yes, Dr. Ali, you are some person that you can set the strategy for the tech company. Even some of the people actually come up with the idea that how actually startup even get funding in these COVID situations, even what's the role for the tech companies. Even one of the interesting point come from Noor Fazrin. She said, "Greetings from Malaysia. My question is to our honorable guest: is that can the bar trading system come back due to COVID-19?" So, 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 Dr. Ali, how do you want to share your views about this economical aspect in COVID period?
I think we have to start with what is technology, because we use these buzzwords all the time: technology, strategy, but what does it really mean? Okay, we got this area which is area of innovation. Like, for example, ATM, the one that everyone uses today, it was around for 10 years before it became a technology. So what does a particular scientific knowledge, scientific finding require to be even named technology? And that is really if the market decides to use it. Not everything that is advanced and has a tendency to be innovative and being considered as a scientific knowledge qualifies to be technology. Technology is given to a particular innovative phenomena when it is used by the market. So the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes within the business world is what technology is all about. Now, keep that in mind. So in this whole spectrum of universities who are looking into new ways of solving things, meaning the solution finders, those who are trying to monetize it, meaning turn it into something that someone is going to use it. Does it make sense? Doesn't it make sense? And then those scientific findings and scientific knowledge that have been established that is being used, we need to distinguish between this. Issue one, very important. When you say technology, watch out what you call technology. Watching Star Trek, you're not looking at technology, you're looking at what could become a technology one day, right? So that's an important issue. Another issue is we saw what happened when Facebook started, right? 2004, Zuckerberg was working hard and was after MySpace and never made anything of it until he managed to bring on board Sheryl Sandberg. Sheryl Sandberg, and please, if you don't know her, please watch her. She has a video why women are not leaders, something like that. When she came on board, and she was working at that time at Google, where she took, a place that had 300 into 4,000. So when you look at Sheryl Sandberg's personality and acumen and capabilities, she was not a technologist. She's still not a technologist. However, she knew business. You see, the marriage between scientific know-how and business is where technology lies. You need to understand both. That's why without understanding, because if something's out there and it's great, but I have nothing to do with it, that's not technology. Now, let's keep this definition in mind while we're talking about technology, what we need technology, what technology can do. So it's very important. Another thing, today, my biggest challenge with my DBA students, let alone MBA or BSBA, is their ability to write. I was just last night grading some DBA students' work, and they consider me, why are you nitpicking? Why are you saying you should have put an and here, not or should have put and or? Why did you miss the comma or put the semicolon or colon? In reality, in business, when you write a sentence, you're making a claim. When you're making a claim, it's like writing a formula in physics. That's how we make assertions. The ability to be able to read appropriately, write appropriately, understand articulation, and understand reasoning. These are at the core of what makes you a successful person on your toes, to be able to move around, be ready to adapt to whatever is thrown your way. Now, everything my colleague said, I totally agree with. What I can add to this is that what we need to understand is, first, technology is being developed at a rate we cannot assimilate. It's developing much faster. Should we worry? No. Don't try to understand how the technology is developed. Understand what does this new technology, this new development in a realm of technological advances has to do with your life. How does it apply to what you want to do? So as it was said by Moore, sort of, it doesn't matter how you're going to get there. Tell me where you want to go, right? Alice in Wonderland. You need to know where you want to go and why you want to go. And you need to be passionate about where you want to go. Now, if you know exactly what is it that you want to do, I mean, you ask someone, I ask a young person always, what do you want to do? I want to make money. Really? I want to be successful. Really? That's not a good answer. You specifically need to know what is it that you want to do, and the question, why you? Why should you do it? What is your competitive advantage? And competitive advantage, that means you can do it and nobody else can do it as good as you. Now you see how much of understanding or introspection you require to be able to answer such a question. And then it really relies on what are your core competencies? What is it that you can do that no one else can do? Or no one else can do it as good as you can do it, or as inexpensively as you can do it. So these are issues that really technology, the part that has to do with the business world, is much, much stronger, more dominant than is the actual advancement into the scientific know-how and knowledge. Make sure that you never lose the sight of the fact that it is the business, it is how the world operates, it is your understanding of the business environment that determines everything. The consumer behavior, the business environment, the political environment, how the future is being shaped, and less so by what technology can do. Don't worry, we are at the stage that whatever you want to do, it is doable if you know what you really want to do. A lot of people, when they talk to you, even at the DBA level, they're not clear. They're just throwing at you buzzwords. My suggestion to whoever is wondering, what should I do? Where would I be going? What is best for me is first to ask yourself, who are you? What do you want to do? Why do you think you should do this? Because everybody else is doing it? But you need to be able to do the simple SWOT analysis. And keep in mind, in SWOT analysis, you're both looking outward at what the world is throwing at you, and inward, what are your core competencies? What are your weaknesses? What are your challenges? If you understand, and let me also answer other question is, how do you get investments?
Mhm.
Can you
In startup,
minute
yes.
uh, a 5 minute talk about why you, it's called an elevator pitch. If you can do it nice and neat and it makes sense and it's congruent, believe you me, don't worry about investment. Investment money, as Eric said, is all over the place. The question, can you put it into a well-defined, well-designed proposal? You understand the legal issues, and do you know exactly why you? So you see, again, I want to bring it, even though I'm a technologist myself, okay? I have a degree, I have a PhD in electrical engineering and computer science. I used to work for NASA. I'm very much up there, a nerd. However, at the end of the day, if it's going to become a technological advancement, it has to be used by the right people and used right. That's why understand what Sheryl Sandberg did, why she's worth today $1.8 billion, because she knew how to get Zuckerberg, who's just a computer hacker, from a stage one to stage two, and that transformation was never possible if it was not for Sheryl Sandberg and what she was. And by the way, still, whoever is saving Zuckerberg is Sheryl. Zuckerberg gets himself into a political issue, becoming filtering, gets himself into so much mess. But it is Sheryl who always comes there. As a matter of fact, Sheryl has made Facebook, and everyone believes in that. Why? You need to understand your environment. You need to have at least a good idea of how does the market look in 2022. If you cannot see how the market looks in 2022, you'll be amazed how lost you are. You'll be running from here to there. And that's what we're trying to do in our university. We're trying to bring our students to a level that they can comprehend who they are, where they are, when they are, and how they could, considering who they are, do something that makes a difference in their lives and livelihoods of others.
Hmm. Yes, excellent. Uh, I want to take more questions from audience because they have different problems. Maybe by this way you can understand that what type of problem they have. Uh, I want to take two questions. Uh, Mr. Azizur Rahman, his question is that, hello sir, will COVID dominate the big business and the small business in the future? Like how long it will stay? I think this is their questions. And second things, I think this is another problem. What are the future challenges facing the garment sectors where basic needs are becoming very difficult to meet for peoples? So, yes, I want to start from Mr. Eric. Like, how do you analyze this problem?
The first question was, how is COVID going to impact the future? Will
Mhm.
COVID dominate the big business and small business in the future? Well, you gotta pick your timeline and say, what is the future? Is it 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years? There are some things that are going to have lasting impacts. For example, delivery, convenient delivery, working at home, communication, not going into the office. Those trends are going to be around for a long time, and that's going to impact both business, big business, and small business. And a lot of that is finding the right people, getting them onboarded, training them, keeping up that connection with a business. The other part is with businesses that have high touch with customers is going to be really challenged because now you have to reach out to customers, and how do you do that in the short term? In the long term, those things will go away where people are going out to talk to each other and see each other, and restaurants opening, but those trends are still going to stay. They're not going to go away. So, and the other thing that's going to start to go is that wait and see. If people say, let me wait to see how things, that's going to start going away too. But right now, there's a huge impact on, well, I'll buy that next year. I'll wait and see how we're doing. I mean, for example, they're just doing tests on cruises right now with new systems. They're having volunteers go on cruise and they're measuring. Can you safely run a cruise? Not with the idea that they're going to sell this, remove the no sale requirement this year. They're already looking to the future of saying when this goes, how can we assure people that cruising is fine? So, I mean, people are already looking at that stuff. So, yeah, a lot of those problems are going to be solved. But a lot of the technologies that are being used isn't going to go away. Their technology is accelerating. In fact, one of the questions was on bartering. We're seeing a lot of bartering with partnerships right now. If you give me
Yes.
this, I'll give you that. So among partners, we're seeing a lot of bartering. We have a world trade desk where people sell stuff, but most of that is we're looking to buy. And while they might accept bartering, that's not what they think about when they post the thing. Where I've seen a lot of the bartering start to come in, that's like Dr. Guyabati talked about, a highly speculative, is with things called autonomous organizations, distributed autonomous organizations or communities, and with the blockchain. Because blockchain, you can do a smart contract that says, here's what I want, here's what I'll take. And those contracts can find each other and say, would you take this? And Moo brought up the fact that bartering in what? Well, lots of different currencies. But it's not only currencies that people are bartering, they're bartering with security tokens, which are, hey, I'll give you my percentage, a little percentage in a mine or in basalt. So we're starting to see that happen in very limited tech things. And I can only imagine that bartering will go in the future, but we're not seeing a lot of that bartering going on right now.
Hmm. Yes. Mr. Mu, how do you want to add this concept? And yeah.
Good, you ask that question about the big business and the small business. I was just reading up on the recovery time for business that's just coming out of a major black swan event, and the study was published by McKinsey, and Turns out for big business, their recovery time is about 4 years. And for small business, their recovery time is about 6 years. And that's if you recover. Let's not forget there's also a 50, almost 50% chance that you don't survive as a small business in the first 5 years, just because you're a small business, because that's the nature of small businesses. And it's not fair. It's definitely not fair. The government will fund a lot of put a lot of funding put a lot of emphasis onto the big business, and not because they want to, because in order to get government funding, you have to jump through a lot of hoops, and the small businesses just don't have the infrastructure to do that. And that's another thing PRBC can potentially offer our small businesses, is the kind of legal guidance that will help you. For example, the I think it's called PPP, right? Paycheck protection
plan. Yeah, the PPP.
Yeah, PPP. There is a guy who's a lawyer. He single-handedly got, I think, $100,000 just because he knows how to navigate the system. He doesn't really have a business. He doesn't really have any employees. He is proven to be a fraud today, and he used that money to buy a Lamborghini. That's the kind of things we focus on. But what we don't focus on is big corporates with plenty of resilience, plenty of financial resilience. That means they have some savings in their bank, and they still got that PPP money. And there's a limit to that amount. And turns out only a very small percent of small business where the money actually should go, it didn't really go there. And that's just one aspect of this whole thing. So during recovery, we will see some injections from the government, but most likely those money won't go to small business. That's just the sad truth. And that contributes to why small business needs much longer time to recover. And the whole small business sector will need a longer time to recover as well. But navigating from that truth, there are still small business coming out of a huge recession. Right, we can look at this. Well, this is not over yet. So the 4 year and the 6 year timer doesn't start until this thing is officially over, until people start seeing increase again. Right now our GDP is still in the negative. So when we talk recovery, we are not even out of the disease yet. Literally the disease, and when we talk recovery, it's when the disease ends. But if you're asking me when the disease is gonna end, it's anybody's guess at this point. Some of these guys may be better than the others. Some saying maybe next month, but we all know who that somebody is. But that's probably not the case. But if you listen to the more scientific sources, at least I don't see anything that's claimed this thing gonna go away within 6 months. Right, so be ready to be in there in the long haul, but by long haul, I don't mean just stay there and do nothing. It's a perfect timing for you to if you run a small business, maybe to take another strategic analysis of your own business. Let's see what can be improved during COVID. Right, what's improving our business during COVID is probably something would improve our business anyways. And now you have some free time on hand. Why not put that off? Maybe redesign your website. Maybe get a new customer relationship management system. Maybe get a content management system. Most of them, or some of them, don't even take any cash to start with. Just take some time to set it up. Right? Getting a new website. There are plenty of platforms out there. You can just go on there and start messing things around. But the worst that could happen is you mess up. You don't have a new website, but you still have your own thing to fall back to. That's just my advice. Just hang tight in there, but don't just hang in there. Do something to yourself. At the very least, educate yourself. Become a more educated entrepreneur. And when you are a good entrepreneur, it doesn't matter where your business goes. Maybe you own a business where there's no way you can survive COVID, but if in the meantime you become a better entrepreneur, you will be invest smarter in your near future when the COVID is gone.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Sten Foster.
Well, again, I want to take this in a little bit different direction. I think, you know, we've how long will COVID last? It's a toss up. It's a pandemic, and we've had these before. The coronavirus, we had N1H1 about 4 years ago, and that was a much more widespread disease. There were 64 million Americans that were infected with that, and our response was not very good. You know, mainly due to the fact that there were few fatalities. So when is the next pandemic going to be coming along? We certainly know that, and are intelligent enough to know that this is not going to be the last pandemic. I think hopefully we can learn some valuable lessons from this pandemic. And you know, I want to quote what President Trump has said. You know, the cure can't be worse than the disease itself. So if you get a pandemic that's not that attacks one sector of the population, which in COVID is predominantly people over 55. That's where most of the fatalities come. School-age children aren't much, and if you don't adjust to those types of things in a society and in the world, then it has devastating, not only psychological effects to the people from being isolated from others, but also economic challenges, and which is what we're seeing here. So again, I mean, I just saw a program last night where in Australia, they've been locked down for 111 days, totally locked down. Those businesses are gone. And now they won't, now that they've taken the lockdown off, they're still not allowed to go outside the city limits of Melbourne. And so you're sitting, again, this is one of those cases where this is all put into place, and people that have powers, there's powers to govern, but there's also powers of common sense. And so I do think that one of the things we're going to have to come to grips with as we go forward, as a society and as a business culture, is to be able to depoliticize as much as we can, because it's never going to be apolitical. We know that it's going, you know, it's always going to be politicized, but we have to use the best, you know, common sense that we can to combat these things. So again, COVID right now, I think, you know, we've addressed a lot of issues on how to go about it. What Dr. Guyabati said is absolutely spot on in terms of, you know, in addressing how you can get prepared for that. And it's very similar actually to the answer for how do you address, you know, what's coming in new technologies and artificial intelligence. You have to be able to address your own capabilities and get the tool sets, because we're always, hopefully, always learning. You know, we're all lifelong learners, or else we should be. And as you know, the world isn't going to stay still. We're not going to have a standing target. And so we're going to have to constantly learn the skill sets that will help us gain the other additional skills we need immediately that we're dealing with today, and the skill sets that are going to be, you know, turning up every week of every year from here to come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. For Dr. Ali, I think you have some specific questions from audience. Number one, hello, sir. What is important for business attitude in providing quality educations? And second questions, I think, for hello, sir. If possible, please give us your feedback on how we should be more visionary in business risk management. Thank you, Mr. Shahrukh and Madam Hosnera. Yes.
All right. Let me again share with you something. This might be interesting for you. I was just here. Let me just go to the simplest place, Wikipedia, and let me just look at the companies that have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy just in the past 5-6 years. Now, here, that's 2014, and in 2014. Most likely you don't know any of these companies. Yeah, somebody might know, Quiznos, and if you see Trump here, it's just because Trump is famous, not because of the entertainment resort. Now, let's just go to the following year, meaning 2015. Now, this was what? We saw 17 in there. Now we see 21, right? Now, American Apparel is going. So you see, now some of them our Radio Shack is gone, right? So again, you see more Walter Energy. So maybe some of them you might know. So now we went from 17 to 21. We go to 2016, and we see we go to 22, right? And again, when you look at here, you see not too many companies that you might be very familiar with. And then if you go to 2017, you see that number 22 goes up to 31, right? And again, when you look around here, yes, Vitamin World is out. Uh, so we can see some companies that you might know, and they're moving out of business. You go to 2018, and then you see that this number 32 moves up to about 53, right? Now a bit more happening. Now, that's like some of these companies you might really know and might have even liked, might have even bought from. Now we go to the year 2019, and we see we go from 53 to 98, 100 almost. And look how many of these companies like Hertz, like just JC Penney's. I mean, these are major companies, Sizzler, right? Like now you see this issue is serious. Now, some companies, as any human being uh, grows and gets old and dies, that's what happens in a life cycle of a company. But why do we have so many major companies die so early? I tell you, this is what Stan was referring to, that COVID-19 hits people more above 55 years old. And guess what? Look at some of these companies. Go and check them out. And you see that it seems like COVID killed them as well. And that's issue. Issue two, when you're looking, so, I mean, if you go through these companies, some of them are very large companies, right? And so you sort of wonder what's happening is happening to all of us and has to do with our resilience, our ability to outlast what's coming at us. And I totally agree with everyone else that if you think this is the last you've heard of anything pandemic, no way, no way. Things are going to get a lot worse. Another thing, those who last, it says if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Today, we see governments becoming stronger. Why? Now they have more control over their citizens. They learned how to control their citizens, and citizens let them control them. For sure, it's like when you give your data to Amazon or to Facebook or to Google, guess what? They're going to use it for their own purposes. That's how they make money. Governments are about controlling. So the largest corporation, governments, they've gotten a lot stronger. They know how to face recognize you in the middle of a couple of 100,000 people. They know who you are, what you are. So government control has gotten to be a lot tighter. Large companies have gotten much larger. Those who should have died have died. They were ill prepared. They should have died. They already have died. What has happened to garment industry? Now, someone referred to garment industry as necessity, maybe for the owners of the business. But I have had this jacket for over 10 years, and I think if I don't, I need to lose some weight. It doesn't fit anymore. But if I continue doing what I do, I think I can keep it for another 30. So who says I need to?
Jackets are COVID proof. There we go.
Yes, yes. Actually, in COVID, we're getting fatter, so it might not fit us anymore. But if I can manage my appearance and my weight, I think this jacket will continue for another 30, 40 years. So I don't know if the necessity we're talking about in garment is about garment industries owners. And by the way, in there, when you go and look at major players, you see Li and Fong, Li and Fong. And you see, Li and Fong is going to manage majority of garment anyways. If you're not part of that Li and Fong, you'll die. I mean, no issue, you'll die. Simply speaking, I'm not trying to paint a bleak picture, but you'll die. Now, that's the real fact. Now, Am I going to be so bleak when it comes and pessimistic when it comes to my predictions? No. For some of us, we might, you know what Mo was saying, if you know you're going to die, so why don't you just die quickly? And I mean as a business. Sometimes accepting that this is an inevitable fact of life is better to accept. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make a funny mix here. Buddha says, if you die before you die, then you will never die. Now, I know this is a high level talk. I shouldn't bring it down for our discussion. But if you die before you die, then you will never die. If you apply it to business, if you know your business has no future, kill it yourself. Start a new business. From the ashes, create a new venture, because you do need to understand your surroundings. You cannot be adamant. You know, a lot of people mind when I tell them you don't know. I mean, I don't know why people would mind the fact to be told that they don't know. What's happening right now? Quality education, the word quality education. Education means you learn something you didn't know. But there are so many things to learn. Why learn this and not that? Where quality comes in. Quality education is an education that allows you to stay resilient, to become resilient, and stay resilient in today's ever-changing, challenging world. Any education that gives you the set of values, mindsets, and skill sets that would allow you to understand the surrounding you live in and to be able to outlast the challenges and become resilient, those are quality educations. It's not by reading books, because any book you grab right now to read, it was written a few years ago. I just showed you what's happening. Books that were written last year, you should throw it in a garbage bin. Oh, but this is a major book. Yeah, I mean, if you want to be in a business of developing something, sure. Basics of laws of physics and mathematics don't change. How is that going to help you in meeting a condition that humanity has never met before? Even in my classes, anyone giving me a reference before 2020, I consider it outdated. And you can imagine how furious students are coming to me saying, this was 2019. I said, that's too old. Show me what today looks like and what did 2019 look like. If there are commonality, I'll take your word for it. In reality, quality education is no longer the job of an institution. Quality education is a mentality of a learner who stays up to date. Quality education has nothing to do with universities. I mean, it has, I will get to that. But it has to do with who you are. Right now, what Sharif is doing through just this World Talent Economy Forum is exactly what quality education is about. Dealing with today's problem based on what's happening on the ground. The challenges are equivalent. I don't care if it's a challenge for a nation trying to make ends meet, or challenges that big businesses are facing, or medium or small or micro, or individuals looking to go. I mean, my God, you're lucky. Now you're 18 years old. We had all of our fun, and guess what? You have to wear masks. But guess what? There is nothing that's going to hurt you more than expectation. You need to learn to put aside your expectation, be up to date, and be able to understand that everything starts with you, with your ability to understand your situation, your ability to, and this cannot happen by just looking forward. You do need to be very well versed in what has happened in the past. I mean, if you're really concerned, go back 100 years and see how many people died from Spanish flu. And is this the end of it? I don't think we're going to see anything drastic in the next 2 to 3 years. And what Mo was saying is exactly right. At best, countries can come out of this about 10 years. And major companies, at least 4 years. Some will benefit and reap the benefit of this the lack of preparedness on the part of others, but some will definitely lose their livelihoods as human beings as well as corporations. So, to bring this home, my understanding is, from an educational point of view, while you are very well versed in how to write, how to talk, how to think, how to analyze, you need to understand that what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. You have to have the courage of making a mistake and learning by making a mistake. You have to have the expectation of failure before ever succeeding. If you don't have the courage of failure, if your expectation is if you work, it's gonna uh, make sense and you're gonna become successful, it's going to be your downfall. By the way, don't forget, as human beings, our perception is more significant in even determining our health, let alone our success. You need to have the right attitude. Again, to be honest, I think by 5 to 10 years, we need to rethink how we govern. We need to rethink how we run our societies. I do not think we can continue on this consumer-based economy. This social economy system has to change. We have to find different ways. But then again, that's not a job for a small gathering like this or for a focus that we want to say what you need to do to be able to stay afloat. Employment needs to change. Human resource development has to change. How you allocate work to people has to change. How you view people has to change. But these changes require you to be ready and have the courage to make a mistake.
Excellent, excellent. I want to move with Mr. Eric about this point, then Mr. Moo, and then Mr. Stone Foster. Yeah, actually, there is a huge audience response on that particular points. So, Mr. Eric.
Well, so one of the difference between business owners and employees is that business owners think in terms of intentions and outcomes, and employees think of actions. So a lot of the questions we get are just give me the action to take, the button to push. And that's very difficult in any environment, but in a changing environment, it's very difficult. It's kind of like if somebody says, what's the best tool for building a house? And you could say, well, I hear saws work pretty good, although I hear hammers. You have a lot of success with a hammer, and I hear drills are amazing. Well, what kind of house are you building? Do you need a skylight? Do you need a pool? Do you need patios? It depends what you're building. So the biggest change people can make, and Dr. Guyabati talked about this, is shifting from thinking about what actions do I take to what intentions and outcomes do I want, and then start looking at the analysis to say, how do I get there? Because even if you start that journey, it may change on the way there. A tool may, but as long as you know where you're going, you can adjust. You can adjust your itinerary on your trip. You decide you want to go to, Rome, Italy, or Singapore. You can stop someplace, you can change, but as long as you know where you can even change your destination. But as long as you know where you're going, you have a lot more ammunition, because the biggest thing that does is give you the chance to ask for help. That's the second part of the mindset, is shift the mindset from actions to intentions and outcomes, and shift the mindset from what do I need to do to who can help me. Because if you have something you need, there's somebody whose goal in life is to help you get there. Sometimes it's free. There's somebody, if you need help, there's somebody whose goal it is, their passion in life is to just help you, either in a cost-effective or often a free or in a partnership. Somebody mentioned the barter system. In a barter, so to me, that's the biggest change, and that's what education is about, really, is that mindset. And that's what the Dr. Guyabati and Stan Foster do in the universities, shifting people to think of information into thinking, well, what are your intentions and outcomes, and how do you match up the piece to get that outcome when you don't maybe even understand how to take the journey? So to me, that's the biggest shift right there.
Thank you, Mr. Mo.
Um, are we on the Araf's question? The challenge faced by countries in terms of employee, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the question above that, I think the question was ask about when robot is taking over. So I can't find those questions coming back and back to back, kind of in a way that's interesting, because what is employment, right? People think employment as their livelihood, as a job, but in reality, employment is not necessarily an economic issue. It's a social issue, right? So it's about the distribution of wealth. So when you have a job, when you say you have a job, you are not really saying I got a steady paycheck coming in, okay? Because that's just from one guy or one person's point of view. But if you look at this on a society level, it doesn't have to be like that. Right? If you own a robot and the robot is doing your normal work for you and you still got paid, would you still complain of not having a job, of losing a job? Right? So the ownership of the robot and who harvests the fruit of labor of the robot matters. Right? So why are we complaining we don't have a job? If you think about it, most of job already being replaced. If you're comparing to our current situation to 100 years ago. 100 years ago, we don't really have any production lines, and the cars were made. This car is a very obvious example here, right? Before the Ford assembly line, there wasn't really any mass production method for cars. But once he has that, he boosted the production efficiency. But all that money went to that one guy. Right? And today we have factories that can automatically build cars without any human involvement, and the money still just go to the so-called stockholders. So I know Doc said this is way too small a platform, too short a time period to discuss the basics of capitalism. But if you have to throw questions around like employment, you have to touch on that level to actually make any sense. Otherwise, you're just people chasing money and don't really know what money is. Right? So you can have all the money in the world, and then all of a sudden you find out tomorrow, people have 10 times of all the money in the world because they are just papers. They can keep printing them. Especially for Asian countries, especially Southeast Asia, we have been fallen to the so-called Western money trap before. Right? All of a sudden, you make a ton of money. You exchange all your money for Western securities, especially the American ones, and all of a sudden, they devalue the stuff you invest in, and all of a sudden you got your 97 finance crisis all over again. So we need to see the truth, right? Our Asian, yes, we have a lot of people, but that's not necessarily a burden on economy. That's only an excuse. China has that excuse for the longest time. So much so, at some point, I was a conspiracy theory saying, does China really have that much population? It's the best for the government if they claim they have more population than they really have, because they can't blame it on the population. But it turns out that's not really the case. And what is work? Does Asia still need work? Are there really enough infrastructures in Asia that we can claim we don't need work anymore? No. There's still roads need to build. There are still bridges needs to be built. And what if we have those people who no longer can trade stock, just go build the roads? There are people, they can do work, or maybe they can make a robot that's do the work, and maybe we can pay the robot so the robot pay the owner of it, and whoever builds the robot gets paid, or everybody gets paid, and everybody owns a robot. So that's the future we're talking about, right? It's not that far down the road. In fact, we are living in a society where robots build most of our stuff. If you look at the automation in China, you think the Chinese build stuff? Yes, in the past 5 years maybe, but since 2015, a lot of companies are shifting away from having to hire people. They are looking into automation, despite the company has a huge surplus of labor, because robot in essence is so-called cheaper. But the company's basic is still a socialism way of thinking. They still want to average that wealth. They still want to distribute that wealth. How to define fire, right? If it's what's fair is one guy, whoever got the best situation take all. One guy the winner takes all. That seems fair, but in reality you got a bunch of people starved to death. And if so-called socialist design of a society, yes, you may be turned off by that word socialism, but in reality you live in society. Even the most hardcore conservative in the U.S., right? That's like the conservative of the conservatives. When you ask them, are you a socialist? They will say no. But you will ask them, well, do you want to pay for your children's school, or do you want to, pay anything you want? Do you want to pay for the road? Right? No, they're still driving on the road, and the road is paid by the public. And that, by definition, is socialism. The society pools its resource and it does something. Right? So, we got to think deep into that if we really want to answer a question like that. And that's just the surface of it. And hopefully that stirs somebody's head, and they start looking into things and start educate themselves.
Thank you. Professor Dr. Ali Goyabadi, there are a few questions I think they like you, and they come up with some questions for you and your teams. What role can business research organization play in business developments or problem solving? Thank you, Mr. Shohel Rana. Araf Mehraj, his question is that, hello sir, what are the challenge faces these countries in terms of future employment due to their large population in South Asian countries? Can I take another one? I think it may be the last questions I can take. This is also for you. Hello, sir. How much social business can implement or occupy the future business idea?
Again, I'm being pulled into an area that, as I said, it's like opening a can of worms. It'll go everywhere. I mean, to be honest, we're trying to talk about a system that is faulty at its core. Capitalism is faulty. And you can see, I mean, all you have to do is open the door and look outside and see what's happening. Capitalism doesn't. Capitalism has not produced a better life for mankind. I'm not saying socialism will, but for sure capitalism has failed. Communism failed long time. By the fall of Berlin Wall, we knew that that method of totalitarianism that has came from the idea of Marx has failed miserably. It got worse. Now capitalism, the Western capitalism is failing. And the Eastern capitalism is much more ruthless and a lot more destructive, and it's going to fail. So in reality, I think we are in need of a new paradigm. Maybe we need to re-examine and rethink how a society should be managed. What is money? What is the role of money? How much money does one need? What are even needs? What are essentials? So we might have to rethink this. Even if we don't like it, guess what? Someone's gonna force us. And that someone can be something such as coronavirus or even worse. Because in reality, we're destroying our society. We see that humanity is losing to this whole conundrum called the economic system. You know, a country like USA prints money, and and it's a fiat money. There is nothing. It's just money. It's just printing papers, creating so-called inflationary values, which is devaluing everything else. and we're printing money, and we're letting the rest of the world manage its repercussions. So, I mean, things are really bad. I don't want to get there. It's going to be a very difficult thing. However, uh, we do not have enough jobs for everyone to work. We will not have enough jobs for everyone to work. Who says we are born to work? Who says the purpose of life is to work? I know our school system is telling us, our economic system is saying if you don't work, you don't have money to consume, and therefore we cannot grow. Who says this growth is productive? Who says such a growth is going to give us a better world? For sure it's not. Look at open the window. You don't even have to listen to me. So I think questions are much more ontological in nature than just for a meeting like this to even address. But for sure, considering the number of people on Earth, you know, we don't have a sustainable way of providing work, unless, for example, you get a group of people to go dig a ditch and then have another group go and fill the ditch and call that work. And guess what? A lot of work we do is just like that. Dig a ditch, fill a ditch. The end result is, okay, a bit of a bump on a road. That's all. There is no work. A lot of things we do. I mean, as again, I go back to garment. Why do we need so much clothing? I mean, we need 2-3 pairs of clothing. That's all. Why do we buy so much? Oh, if you wear these tennis shoes for more than 6 months, it's gonna destroy your knee. Really? Look at the anthropological studies. That didn't happen. We don't even need shoes. Who says we need shoes? I mean, our body is created in a way that we can last in without wearing a shoe. Let alone you wear these expensive shoes. Why? So Nike can continue living without actually producing anything. Are we just digging a ditch and filling a ditch, considering that useful work? By the way, we're destroying the world. So bringing this again home. In reality, I do not believe this system will last much longer. I don't care who plays what game, this ain't gonna continue the way it's been. It's not sustainable. Countries are thinking about UBI, Universal Basic Income. We need to rethink. I mean, the rich getting richer doesn't mean world is getting better. I mean, greed does not produce anything useful for even the rich. I used to be a life coach. And when you're a life coach charging $300-400 an hour, usually you get rich people to pay you. You'll be amazed what kind of problems rich people have. At least poor person is running after money or trying to make ends meet, don't have time to have psychological issues. This world is a very difficult world, and we need the next generation to maybe stop for a moment and say, who says we need money? Who says we need to consume? Who says I need these shoes? Who says I need this car? I mean, says who? Because we've been indoctrinated that if you don't eat at the restaurant, something's wrong. I mean, when you eat at the restaurant, you're getting sicker. Who says you have to go see the world? Oh, but tourism will fail. Who says we need tourism? Who says we need so much emission in the atmosphere? I mean, you think Thailand is much different than China? You think USA? I mean, we're at the level of convergence. Anywhere you go, you see the same. You see the same McDonald's, you see the same building, you see the same street. It's not like you're going from one planet to another. Why are we moving so much? Why are we wasting so much? Why are we wearing so much? Why are we eating so much? Now, again, these are major questions that we need to address. However, because that's not your business and you're not going to change the world, at least change yourself. At least learn to learn. Learn to be creative. Think about sustainability. Think about resilience. And yes, there are places who are doing research. I'm going to go to the first question. And these people, if they're going to right now, China does not like Americans anymore for many reasons. But one of them is that Chinese say that you guys speak very nicely and you provide us with all these great theories, but in reality, it doesn't work. I just noticed that you cut and paste from this book or that book. Who says you are part of a crowd, part of a herd? Who says you are the same as the next person? Who says you're even the same as your brother or sister, let alone as someone who's living in a Western country? What you need to understand is that your true journey starts with you recognizing that there is a you. For you to be able to say I rather than saying we, for you to realize that you could be, that doesn't mean you are, but you could be an authentic being, which means you are the unique, perfect you, and you are responsible for you to define your life based on your value system. The questions: do you have a value system? Do you have intentionality? Do you have a vision for your life? Then come up with a mission for your life. I believe it all starts with you. You are the person, you are the individual. You need to understand how to go to discover the real you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think our audience really enjoyed today's discussions, and they come up with these comments. I think all are enjoying today's discussions and getting more ideas about future business. So, Mr. Eric, what do you want to add? And then Mr. Mo.
Well, just kind of to sum up some points that Dr. Gujarati brought up, we were talking about this idea of business people focus on intentions and outcomes versus actions. Well, so do citizens. So whether you want to call it capitalism and measure things through dollars, dollars are a good measurement for lots of things. Other things, not so much. Social responsibility, corporate social responsibility is going global. And people are saying it's not just about dollars. We want to measure other things in other ways. And people are even using dollars in terms, somebody mentioned investment, in order to invest in social responsibility funds. In fact, there's many places that have funds that only invest into companies that are measuring things beyond the dollar, including public benefit things. So, when you speak of socialism, that scares a lot of people because they imagine what it could be. But I say if you forget socialism and capitalism and just say, well, how do you want to measure success as a company, as an individual, and as a society? Do you want to measure social aspects? Do you want to measure monetary aspects? I think it's a both for certain things. Certain things, dollars are good. Other things, dollar is a terrible measurement. And the other part of that is transparency, because we usually try and hide what's really going on so we can get somebody else to pay for it. I make this product, you pay by breathing in the pollution. I'll shift the cost to you. So to me, that's the biggest thing moving ahead, is to take your own business and look at what intentions and outcomes you want from your business. Realize there's lots of help including Pacific Rim Business Council, but a lot more ways, universities and friends and Chamber of Commerce, or just colleagues. There's lots of help in getting outcomes, but you need to measure what success is. That's always the toughest thing, is figuring out what you want and then figuring out, well, how do I know when I get there? What's the measurement? You can't measure happiness. That's really hard. So what can you measure? So defining the problem, putting the scope is a really important concept.
Thank you. Mr. Mo, what do you want to add for today?
After we go into the ideology of how we build a society, I guess there's really no coming back from that. What I want to say is going back to the basics. If you own a small business, if you're unfortunately enough to own a small business, in this trying time, there are still things you can do. That's what I want to say. It's not, yes, it looks scary, it looks dire, but we don't really know what's going to happen. But think it this way, right? We were due for another major financial crisis. It's about 10 years after the last one, and if history It's an indication to itself. Every 10 years or so, we have a global level financial crisis. Right? And that has been happening since the 1920s. If you look up that number, you'll find that's the right number, about the right number. So even without the pandemic, we were heading towards a major financial crisis, anyways. So either way, small business will be taking will take hit. Um, well, with the pandemic, as you can say, hey, it's not my fault; it's the pandemic's fault. But all that shifting responsibilities aside, you know, if you decide to dedicate your life to small business, and if you don't want to live that corporate life, you know, you got now is a perfect time to look into your business, to look into yourself, and say, what can I do to make sure that either my current business will be more resilient, or I need to cut loose and make sure that all my future ventures are resilient. And what that takes is training and education, not in the sense that uh, the old school you need to go to a very prestigious university, because that's never what education is really about. You need to learn what is there for you, what are the tools available for you. You don't even need to know how to use the tool. You just need to know that it's there, and once the opportunity hits, you are the one who's ready to take the opportunity. Opportunity is only for the ones who's ready, right? So uh, that's the best conclusion I can come out of today's meeting. And thank you, guys.
Thank you, thank you. Actually, this is really, really, really important discussions. Even if PRBC agree, World Talent Economy Forums want to do a series with you because of the huge demands. Even from the direct response, we are getting the feedback that really they are enjoying this kind of sessions. Every people has a lot of challenges. Someone has, you can check even from our audience, someone problem with the garments industry, someone has the problem with their startup, someone has the problem with the big corporations, government has policy related things, many of the issues actually coming. And on the other hands, many organizations actually facing a lot of problems. So I believe that this kind of sessions, when Dr. Goabadi come with his teams, always I say that it's actually really different level of thinking, different level of analysis, different level of research, and these things come. So by this way we can interact with this Asia Pacific ecosystem. I'm sure even still people, even I know that it's almost 2 hours of time. I have 1 hour of time, but I have to extend because of huge demand. I mean, still audience are asking questions because they love to know, they want to know more, they will have lot of issues. So I believe that if we can arrange this kind of series more and more, the local community, the business organization, the economy of the in the Asia Pacific, they will be more benefited. And this is our objective actually. World Talent Economy Forums, Asia Research and Development Institute, and Al Noor Academy, we are working together because of solving the problem. And we are really, really uh, happy that people like Dr. Ali Goabadi, he has a huge experience, Mr. Eric, Mr. Mo, even Dr. Foster's, and many people from around the world, they are joining and they are trying to help this community. So hopefully by this way we can get more success. And the COVID period, I think this is more challenging times. I think we have to work together. Even if you want from World Talent Economy Forums, um, we can arrange conference, summit, and when we can invite more local ecosystems and organizations and peoples. By this way we can grow together and we can build up more interesting things. Already we are connected around 100 different countries, from US, North America, from Europe, from Asia Pacific, South Asia, Middle East, even in Africa. We are trying to help as much as possible, but we need more of your support. So I directly want to go for the concluding remarks from Mr. Mu, then Eric, and Mr. Goabadi. I think yes, when Mr. Goiba, they come up with these philosophical aspects and motivations, people really, really get very good idea. Yes, Mr. Mo.
Well, I mean, uh, well, since we're talking the the philosophical level of question, I do enjoy discussing that, especially with Dr. Guabadi, and sometimes with Dr. Rosser, but unfortunately he has to go due to a family emergency. Yeah, this is almost one of my pet projects and one of my uh, my hobby, talking about ideologies. But I know I'm a weirdo on that one. I tend to geek out on that. Um, but the reality is, we are in business, right? As business people, you always look at what is your environment, right? Sometimes we cannot change our environment, but sometimes we need to hope that the environment will eventually be changed. And one of the environment element is the social environment, and that's the famous pastel evaluation system is, or analysis is. Part of it, the S in pastel is the social aspect of it. So if you live in a unstable society, and some of the questions I saw is about should the government step in more to regulate big business so small business has more chance, or should they just let them go and allow them to be monopolists and just kick out the small competitions? And Dr. Ali Guebadi keep repeating this almost a theme now. Big businesses are getting bigger because they become stronger through the COVID-19 situation, and that is true, right? Even some traditional big businesses are being killed by Amazon, not to mention the mom and pop shops, and everything is being consolidated to Amazon, and this is all fun and dandy until Amazon finally realized, I'm number one in the world and nobody else has a chance to compete with me. I can do whatever I want. I will enslave everybody, and that's just a very extreme case that comes in. But if they decide to issue credit cards and you have to pay their fees, with all your life savings, then what's the difference between a slave and a consumer of Amazon? And just from the working conditions at Amazon, one could argue, that's the modern form of slavery, and people don't even got enough, pee break, for the lack of better term, bathroom break. That's a more elegant way to say that. So there are sick things going on in the corporate environment, and that's not because there's evil mastermind behind the curtain and trying to be the worst version of humanity can be. It just he wants to maximize their income, or maybe for a noble reason. Maybe he's trying to save the world with more money. He just wants to make more money, and who can argue with that logic? But at the end of the day, if that's bad for humanity, that probably needs to be regulated, and that's my take on that particular issue.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mo. Mr. Eric, what do you want to add on behalf of Pacific Rim Business Council?
So we've had a lot of really great concepts, and as you can probably tell, I'm a huge fan of concepts, but we're also a huge fan of actually getting things done, because you have to connect the conceptual to the physical. If all you do is have concepts, nobody gets things done. If all you have is actions, then you have lots of activity, but it doesn't lead you where you want to go. So it's that bridge which is really important. I think listening to the people on this live stream, I think we've had a lot of blend of Moo is very practical, and I really appreciate that. So I think now's the time to take those concepts and say, who do you really want to help, and how do you help them? This is a great time to do analysis. The best analysis is to talk to people. When we started a company with 4 25-year-old kids, once we did the customer analysis by actually talking to the customer, the company grew 300% a year and signed agreements electronic. So it's that time of actually figuring out what people need right now and saying, is there a change that you can do with what you do today that makes a difference to your customers? If they don't need that, what what Dr. Guyabadi basically said is, sometimes you have to, if that's not what you need, then you need to shift and do something new. And actually, I know Dr. Guyabadi, and Dr. Foster, they had to shift to say, our students need us to be 100% online. That's a shift. It's what they did, but they did it differently. The other thing is you got to do new things. I know that we've helped companies. I know even Dr. Guyabadi and Dr. Foster did that in their businesses. They brought in two completely different markets, new things. We've started a lot of companies with people and for people at the PRBC during this. So those are new things. And then the last thing to think about is now's a great time to work on your relationships. While people are in and they're there, talk to them, find out what they need. You've got the technology. Zoom is free. There's lots of other free tools between Google and, there's a lot of tools to actually reach out to people and just have those conversations to say, tell me about you. How are you doing? What do you need? How are things going? And that'll get you both new ideas or ideas on how you can change what you do, new ideas, and if nothing else, it helps build that relationship for when they're ready to move and you can help them.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Ali Goabadi. Yes, I think people
All
are
right.
waiting for you.
Yeah. So let me first say, I'm a professor, so let me profess. If you get a chance, watch this. This is a free movie on YouTube. It's called Interreflections. Interreflections. It's free. And here is the movie, and you can have different if you're not that patient. It's a good movie. I mean, it's received very high rating, even though you might be bored watching it, but let it sink. So there's not much money here. It's a good movie. I think they've done a lot of good work here, and this Peter Joseph's work has been, I think, they've done a good job. I think it is worth your time. Number one, I mean, if you get a chance, please watch this. And this is actually it's 2 hours and some, but you can watch this shorter version first. Second, the only inevitable fact of life. It used to be taxes and debt. I think taxes, we've seen our president has portrayed to us that you can get away from it. Okay. Taxes, there are loopholes. You can move around. But debt, up to now, based on my studies, there is no loopholes around it. You will definitely die. You will definitely die. That's for sure. That I guarantee. As a matter of fact, if you want to, I can send you a guarantee on that. The question is, so what? Now, some people approach it is that, okay, I know I'm going to die, and it's a fact of life, and everyone's going to die. Therefore, what do I have to do with it? So there's nothing I can do with it. Let's not worry about it. That's one approach. I like the Buddhist approach, or the Islamic approach, or the religious approach. Now, as a Buddhist, if you learn to die before you die, you will never die. Understanding that everything is transient. Second, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he says, die before you die. Mutu qabla an tamutu. In reality, as human beings, dealing with such a major issue of our own demise, our own death, we need to first understand it, take it on, and live with it in the most productive manner possible. People who live with death in mind, they're less worried about their Lamborghini and their, Sachi or their clothing or their big mansion, because you're not here to live in that mansion or ride that car. You're here to die. And the only plausible solution that we've been able as mankind to work that makes life meaningful is brotherly love, to love one another and to understand you are part of a whole, part of a much larger construct. And as such, I think understanding who you are, where you belong, and what is your innate nature and obligation will be a good beginning of a journey. We know. Now, it says suffering, but actually lack of satisfaction is what Buddhism is all about. Understanding that is the reality of life and living through that. Number one, no pain, no gain. That doesn't mean all pain is all gain. No, no, no. Not all pain will bring you gain. But certain pains are inevitable, but if you understand to go through that, you will gain. Right now, don't look at pandemic, corona, all these requests, re-questioning, questioning again something that we thought we knew an answer to, or we had an answer to, and going through the pain of self-discovery, introspection, understanding the real meaning of who we are as a race, who I am as a human being, and what's my relationship to who we are, and being able to find happiness in terms of this, not an induced happiness that has been indoctrinated by the so-called capitalism and the consumer and consumerism into our train of thoughts, but a real discovery of self, becoming a Buddha, enlightened, going through the process of discovering your own existence, giving it a meaning, be it religious, be it, Buddhism doesn't believe in God or anything, but I don't care how you go about that. Everything starts from within. The work without, you read a book, you know how to put a few keys together, write this formula, write this code, and things happen. Very easy. That's why our eyes are seeing outward. They don't see inward. But our real quest starts when you start looking inside. You start asking questions. You become educated by understanding how did we get to where we are. My feeling is that COVID-19 depends on how you look at it. Could be very good or very bad. I consider it a great opportunity to have meetings like this. I consider it an opportunity for those activities that are unstable, not sustainable, to be rid of. I believe it's better to deal with these things earlier than later, because if you allow something that is not right to prolong, actually you're allowing more deterioration and damage to our existence. I think once again mankind is facing a question of who are we, why are we, and where are we going, and what's best to do. I believe it is time for you to contemplate, now that you have more time to sit down and think. And business is what keeps you busy. Business doesn't mean you have to be just running after money, move. I mean, the fact that I see people are begging to be enslaved. Can you imagine? With our own choice, we choose to be enslaved by corporations. We go and sit in these cubicles 8 to 10 hours in front of a monitor, not our way of living, not our natural way of living. We beg for one of these big slave owners to enslave us, and we are happy. Oh, I got a job. Sort of saying, oh, look at my handcuffs and look at my shackles. Aren't they strong? That's what you're saying. Life begins with introspection, with you asking you, who are you, the authentic you. This is a never-ending journey. Now, if you believe in reincarnation, that's one. And if you believe in heaven or hell, another. Or if you even happen to be a nihilist, guess what? All of us are coming to agree that the way we're doing it is not right. It's not sustainable. Maybe it's time to think about sustainability, resilience, and a more environmental friendly means of living together, independent of our race, culture, nationality, gender, even sexual orientation. It is time for us to understand that you need to know how to ask the right question that is pertinent to you. And that question, the answer is out there. Just make sure first you learn how to ask questions, and you'll be amazed how difficult of a task this is. I wish the best for Sharif, for the World Talent Economy Forum. I congratulate the new agreement between the World Talent Economy Forum and Pacific Rim Business Council, as well as I heard Expert Academy from Istanbul. I think you guys are growing. I am looking for a day that we will look at your global forum in which you have so many different people. I thank each and every one of you who are, you're interested in what you're doing. You're interested to grow yourself, because if you don't feel good, if you are not doing good, we're not doing good. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Sharif. And we, as the university, be more than happy to serve you, independent of the fact that if you're our student or not. We believe there is a purpose to life that is beyond making money. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you, Dr. Ali, and thank you, Mr. Eric, and thank you, Mr. Mu. This is really, really very interesting sessions for our audience, and I really, really want to give thanks our audience, because here in Malaysia, it's 2 a.m. It's a midnight, and yes, you people have that kind of attraction that you you stay still there just waiting for your discussions, and as much as possible we will explore it. And I think Mu also know that in China, Malaysia, everybody is early riser. So like they go early in the bed and early, and they everybody is early riser. But here, only because of your sessions, I saw many of our audience actually joinings, and hopefully we will serve for this our audience, and we will solve many of the local problem with the collaboration of PRBC and especially your university. Thank you everyone.
That's a
Yes,
pleasure. Take care.
thank you,
Bye-bye.
take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.